Welcome back, y'all. Bearded Appliance Repair. We got another one for you. This oven here, we are getting the F96 error code. What that error code is it's not detecting the speed of the upper cooling fan on this. So I'm going to show you guys the code. There it is, F96. She can't do anything with this. Can't use the upper or the lower oven whenever that error code comes up. What that cooling fan does is it cools these electronics, so that's why this thing will not run with that error code being up there. Otherwise, you'd have a bad fan, and then before you know it, you'd have a bad control board as well, because that heat can damage these things. So what I'm going to show you here is the fan on the lower one. You can actually see, got a good view of it here. Turn the oven on, and you'll see, boom, lower oven cooling fan works. And then we're going to try and look at the upper one. It was tough for me to even see it. And I'm going to show you, I tried getting a camera angle on it to actually show you where it is, but it is on the left-hand side on that lower oven cooling fan. It was more on the right-hand side, and like I was saying, I did not get a good angle, but I got lucky enough to get my eye on it, to see it not working, to order the fan, and I'm back with it today. But right back there is the assembly. You can see a part of the motor. You can't really see if it's working or not, but I'm going to pull this thing out for you so you guys can actually see where this cooling fan is. But yeah, we are replacing the upper cooling fan because it is not working, and to do that we got to get this oven out of its hole. There's 4 screws holding it into the cabinet. You saw me pull out that first one, then I'm getting this second one, and then you got the one bottom left and bottom right. So we're going to get these out real quick. How I get these ovens out, I use an oven dolly. It's a pretty expensive piece of equipment, but it's very valuable to me. If you guys are some DIYers at home, you're going to need some help getting this thing out. Before I got this oven dolly, I did use things like, I don't know, a homemade box, or something that was strong enough to hold the weight of this oven whenever you pull it out, because you do got to get this thing all the way out to get to this fan. But this is my oven dolly, and it helps me do this alone, so I don't need any help, don't need to hire anybody to help me pull this oven out. I'm probably just gonna let you guys watch me get this oven out. It's pretty straightforward. If I come up with any tips or anything, I'll chime in, but before we go any further, we got to get this oven out to get our eyes on that fan, so you guys will see what I'm talking about. Alright, the cool thing about this oven dolly, I'm about to show you here, whenever you get it out a little bit, you can swing it behind it. So you see, because the front of it is actually holding the front of the dolly, or the front of the oven, excuse me. And when you swing it around on this right hand side, you got this thing that will hold up the back of it. That's what's so beautiful about it. It's simple. You might even be able to DIY one of these things, I don't know. I don't have a welder, so I can't. So I went ahead and purchased one. But right here, we did run into a little problem where that little side wall is in the way. So whatever I do whenever I get to this part is I pretty much rotate it enough to where I can get that arm swung all the way around. And specifically, the way I do it on this one is I keep the right hand corner still in the hole just in case. This thing is pretty good. It will, as long as you're holding it from the top, it shouldn't come off of the dolly at all. Holding it on 3 points is actually pretty good, because sometimes we pull these things out with a full wall on the left hand side, so I have to hold it from the top just to make sure the sucker don't fall over. But yeah, once I swing this thing enough to get that arm swung around, you just get in that left hand side on the back, get that guy secured in place where it's holding it pretty good, and then you can do anything you want with that oven. Well, you can rotate it enough where the wiring that goes to it, if it's long enough, you can do anything you want. Some of them are super short and you can only pull it out far enough to get your arm behind it. I've ran into those a couple times where I've had to take off the junction box from the wall so I'd have enough slack to get behind this thing. But yeah, got her on the oven dolly, and we're just gonna get her out enough to where we can get behind it, start taking some panels off. So yeah, this oven cooling fan is on the top, and once we get it out enough, we'll be able to start taking these screws out to get to it. Now, it's a much better idea to have the power off whenever you're taking these panels off. I didn't do it. I've failed to do it. But don't be like me, especially if you don't know much about these things and where power may be or where it may not be. But anyways, turn power off before you start taking these things off, just in case you don't want to hurt yourself. So we are getting this top panel off first. 3 screws on the back, 2 on the right, and 2 on the left. Once we get that top panel off, you can see a little bit of that motor, but that other panel that goes behind the top panel, that's what's covering the cooling fan. Because you'll see, we'll pop this thing open and you can see the fan, you know, kind of sort of, but I wasn't getting a good angle on it, so I'm not gonna show you guys what this fan's doing, because you can see it a little bit back there. But we got to get that panel off there to access it a little more. So we're gonna get some more screws out here. Alright, we got those out on the top. We gotta turn her a little bit and get the screws out on the rear. And once we get this panel off, we can actually see that fan right there. Alright, now whenever you get to this part, I'm going to show you guys. This is one reason why I didn't turn it off, so I didn't have to go out again, just to show you guys what this fan's doing. But whenever we start to turn it on, that fan will not turn. Alright, it's on. See, the fan's not turning. Got my hand back there moving it a little bit, and now she is. We know that this fan's getting power. I could actually see it, but if you guys are unsure, you guys can get your meter out and make sure that this fan has 120 VAC to it, because if it's not working, it can be because it's not getting power, or it could be because of the fan has failed. Whenever I was watching it before, whenever I ordered this fan, I turned it on and I could see the fan turn just slightly. It would probably turn maybe 5 degrees. So I knew it was getting power because the fan was trying to turn. It's just not working because it's a little stiff. And I'm not sure if you can take that thing apart and clean it. What we do, we just get new ones on there, because if we do try and clean it, charge the customer, they're going to call us back again, most likely. So I recommend getting you guys a new fan. And if you guys need the part, there will be a number in the description below where you guys can call. Just have your model number ready, and we can look up whatever fan you need, whether it's the upper or lower fan. One other thing, if you turn this thing on and that fan is running and it's not, or it's still giving you that F96 air code, that green circuit board that's on that fan, that is a hall sensor. That's actually what tests or monitors that fan speed, and it gives that information back to the control board. So if your fan is running and you're still getting that F96 air code, you're going to need that hall sensor, most likely. But we're here because this fan is bad. It's not spinning like it ought to be. So we got to get this other panel back here off so we can access the screws to get that fan off and get it replaced. Now, you guys did see me get the power off. You do not want to take these panels off with the power on. All ovens are different. Some of them have power behind there all the time. So, yeah, just be careful whenever you're working on these things, especially if you're going to be replacing things. Make sure power's off. You only need power on to test things. So once you know what the problem is, make sure that power's off whenever you go to replace these things. But to get this fan off, there's 4 screws, and I haven't done one of these in quite a while, so I was trying to recall on how to do this. So you get those 2 screws out in the back, and then there's one on the left and there's one on the right. You're going to see me take 2 screws off that I did not need to take off yet. Those are the screws that actually hold the fan onto its bracket, and whenever you get a new fan, it doesn't come with the bracket, so you'll have to take the screws out that are holding it to the bracket, transfer the bracket over to the new fan, and you guys will see all that. So these screws I'm taking out right now, you do not need to take these out yet. I was just thinking, I can just get this fan off right now. Just take these screws out and boom, don't need to deal with this bracket. Nope, I was wrong. So yeah, I'm going to take another couple of looks at these things. Going to take out the wire connections real quick, because whenever we get that fan bracket off, I mean, we're going to have to take all these things apart anyway. So everything that connects this to the oven, you're going to want to take off. There's a ground wire I'm getting right now, got a bad angle on it, but another 1/4" screw just like everything else. And now trying again. Nope, still not coming off. I'm now seeing the screws on the left and the right hand side. So there's the one on the right. I know, terrible angle, so sorry about that. One on the left. There's also a little clip that is holding that wire harness on. I'm just going to cut that thing out of the way. I'll get my dikes here in a second. Yeah, that guy there. We got to break that free before that fan will come off all the way. Get over to it. Cut it off. The new fan actually comes with a new clip, so you can actually cut that thing all the way out. I was gonna zip tie it back in there, but then whenever I got the new fan, I was like, oh, awesome. Comes with the new little fastener. So, yeah, fan is out. Now, I'm gonna get the new fan out of its box. And then we gotta transfer that bracket over to the new fan. So, I'm gonna clean up my working area a little bit. Here's the new fan. Alright, here's the new fan. What it does not come with is a bracket and that hall sensor. So we're going to have to get that bracket off that old one along with that hall sensor. We'll do that hall sensor last. But we're going to flip these things over. Keep in mind where that bracket is located on the old fan, because you're going to want to put it in the same spot on the new fan. But yeah, this is where those screws I took out earlier, I told you didn't have to. Now is the time where you get those screws out. So yeah, get those 4 screws out and those rubber grommets that are on that bracket. You do want to keep those. You don't want to lose them. They help prevent any kind of vibrating noises that may, come from this fan whenever it's running. And right here, I'm spinning the new fan compared to the old fan, and you can see the new fan spins a lot better. So there's something stuck in there, whether it's grease or something. That's probably most likely what it is. Grease. Just jamming this thing up a little bit. So whenever that little electric motor's trying to turn those blades, it's just not powerful enough. So yeah, new fan will definitely fix this problem for them. So yeah, there's that hall sensor on the old fan. It is a torque screw to get it off. Get yourself a torque set. Find the right size. You can use a drill like this, but you do want to be careful. You do not want to break anything, especially if you don't need a new one. Like if you do need a new hall sensor, you can break the old hall sensor if you wanted to. But yeah, you guys are seeing how that thing comes off, and there is a little guide pin for these sensors. So you just drop it in there, line up the guide pins, and you put that screw back in. Not much to it. I mean, it's just a little small, kind of tight little area here. But if you guys don't put this on, you're still going to get that F96 air code. So don't forget to swap anything over that you need to swap over. Remember, be very careful, especially if you're using a impact driver like I am. You don't want to torque those things down too much and break it. But now it's time to get this bracket back on. Line up those grommets, because they slide in and out. So line up those grommets with the holes on the fan. And I'm here figuring that out right now. But we're going to get these 4 screws back in, and then we're going to start getting this fan back in. Alright, fan is ready to go. We're gonna get over here, get this fan in, gonna clean up the area a little bit real quick, get the harness out of the way, cut off that fastener for the harness, because the harness already comes with one. So I'm gonna grab my needle nose and try and pull it out. She breaks off pretty easily. When this plastic gets hard and brittle because of the heat, they break pretty easy. They get brittle, and you can just grab them with some needle nose pliers and they'll come right off. But yeah, we're setting that fan into place, putting that harness fastener back into the hole that the old one came out of. We're gonna find that ground screw, get that grounding wire back in, hook up the harness, and then secure that bracket that holds that fan. Then once that's on, I believe we're gonna test this thing out. One good thing you guys need to do is make sure it works before you put it all the way back together. If you get it all the way back together, put it in there, put it back in its hole, and then go to test it, and you get in that F96 again, you're gonna have to pull this thing all the way back out and find out why. Whether it's you forgot to hook up that hall sensor, or you forgot to hook up the wire harness for the fan, or could be anything. Something may have got stuck in the fan, or the fan just doesn't work. The new fan's a bad fan, which can happen. It's happened to me multiple times. It drives me crazy when I get a bad new part, but it happens. If you do, you just return it to where you got it from and get another one. So we're going to get the breaker back on this. We're going to give it a good test, and you guys will see that this fan will be working, and we won't be getting an F96 air code. You don't want to run it for long either, because this is an oven now. It gets hot, so run it, make sure that fan works. That air code pops up maybe in 30 seconds. So if you have to, run it for 30 seconds to a minute, turn it off. You guys can't see it right now, so let me get back over there so I can show you what this fan's looking like. It's spinning a lot faster than that old one was. There it goes. She's spinning. You can put your hand underneath it and feel, as long as you don't touch anything you're not supposed to. Those elements back there, they got power on them right now, so just be careful what you do with your hands. So we know everything's good to go. We know this thing's gonna fire up, so we're gonna cut power back off, get this thing back together and back in its hole. So we're going to start with this back panel, that last one that we took off. It goes on the inside of that lower panel. Trying to give you guys a good view of that, putting it on the inside of that lower panel. If you have to, you can take those screws out on the top, give you a little bit of slack to get that panel back in where it's supposed to go. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, this pigtail right here, you do got to push it up to get it out and in. And there's these little hangers that the panel hangs on. I'm trying to get a good view of that for you here too, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. You just line those things up and she'll fall right into place where that screw hole should be lined up perfectly to get that screw in. But we got that panel in place, so we are going to just put the screws in it, and then we'll go to the next one. Now those two screw holes on the top, you don't need to put any screws into those yet. Those screws will go on whenever that panel that covers up that fan goes on. Whenever that panel goes on, because it goes on the inside of that panel you just put on, whenever you get that into place, then you'll put those top screws in on that panel. And you guys will see that here in a second. But we're going to grab that other panel. We're going to get it into place and secure it down. It was a tight spot in this kitchen too, with that oven in the way there. That's why you see me struggling every time I go back through there, because I'm not a small guy. But yeah, we're getting this panel into place. We're going to secure it, and once we get that done, we're going to get the top on. Yeah, this thin metal, it doesn't always sit right whenever you know, you may have seen that top panel, how that right hand side's just sticking up. But once you just push that down, secure it into place, I mean, it'll just lay down like it's supposed to. Once you get all those screws in, everything will be fine. I'm here looking for some screws that I took out that I put on the counter on the other side. So just bear with me here while I remember where they are. Oh, there they are. So let me squeeze through here again. Get those last 4 screws in. Then we're going to get it back in its hole. And the way you got it out, you just put it in the opposite way. In this case, we're going to get that back right hand corner into the hole first. Swing it back enough to where we feel comfortable taking off that left hand arm that's holding up the rear, taking that down. Because that's the scariest part of all this, is getting the oven out, getting it back in. That sucker is not light. Doing this by yourself without an oven dolly, it can be done. I've done it a couple times by myself. It's not fun, but it can be done. It's real tough. Gotta be careful. If you drop this thing, if it's yours, I mean, it's yours. It's your liability. If you're a guy like me, I mean, you could damage somebody's cabinets. You can drop the whole oven, damage that thing along with some cabinets. So whenever you're working on these kind of things, I can't express enough how careful you want to be. A lot of times using these oven dollies, the back end is a little bit lower, and like I was telling you before, we're going to get this right rear corner in first, but I like to tilt it from the front towards you, to lift up that back end to get it in and rest it on the cabinet. That technique seems to work out pretty great. But we got that back right hand corner in. We are going to get this thing a little bit more into the cabinet before we get that left rear part of the oven dolly out from underneath it, before we swing it out of the way. I can't express enough how careful you want to be getting this thing in and out. It's going to be the most stressful part of doing this job here. But we're going to get it in almost all the way. So we're fully, well, not fully, but we are, we got the back end secured by the cabinet. So you can't really see it, but I'm getting that loose down there. We're going to swing it out of the way. Be careful when you do that. we'll start pushing her in a little bit more. Once we feel good about it, we're going to go over to the right hand side. Get this guy down and out of the way. Swing it back towards us. And now we're going to push this oven back into its hole. This is where it feels good. This is where you're like, okay, this is the easy part. It's not always the easy part, but as long as it's a well-built cabinet, it is the easy part. I've ran into some where they have 2x4s holding up a wall oven like this, just 2x4s, which it can be cool because you can pull out that drawer that's underneath this whole oven, and you can see underneath it if there's anything, you know, in the way of you pushing this thing all the way back, which can be nice. But as long as it's this could be the hardest part for you. It's getting it back into the hole properly where it was before you pulled it out. Some of these things are not easy. So hopefully it's a well-built cabinet, so it's nice and easy to get it in or out and then back in. They do got some things that guide it along the way. Got to make sure everything is on the inside. Looks good there. Looks good on the right hand side. I like to get down here and push the frame and get it all the way in. And if you're unsure, you can always take a look at the screw holes, see if they line up, which they do. So we're gonna get these screws back in, secure it, get the power back on, and we'll double check our work, make sure everything's working. You don't want to leave the customer without a working oven, so make sure she does work. Yeah, so we're gonna get these screws back in, get the power on, and give her another test. Alright, here we go. Power is on. To set the clock, you want to hold the 9 and the 0. I'm looking for it right now. It says it right on the display too. So you hold 9 and 0 and it'll bring up to where you can change the clock. I'm looking for a clock and I found one on my phone. It's 11:04. I'm going to start preheating these ovens. And you're pretty much done if this thing doesn't get, well, if that F96 doesn't come back up. My battery was dying on this thing, so you won't see it all. I think it only goes up to like 213 or something like that, maybe even less. I don't remember, but it takes about 15-20 minutes or so to preheat this oven, but that's pretty much it. I hope this, guys, has helped. If it has, I mean, give me a like, subscribe, and I appreciate y'all watching.